Grace said with great feeling as she took her first bite of delicious goodness. Not one to waste her break, Amy toasted her with a pancake-loaded fork dripping with syrup and dug in. Mallory was still carefully spreading butter on her pancakes. "You going to tell us what's wrong, Grace?" Grace stilled for a beat, surprised that Mallory had been able to read her. "I didn't say anything was wrong." "You're mainlining a stack of 6 pancakes as if your life depends on it." "Because they're amazing." And nothing was wrong exactly. Except everything. All her life she'd worked her ass off, running on the hamster wheel, heading toward her elusive future. Being adopted at birth by a rocket scientist and a well-respected research biologist had set the standards, and she knew her role: achieve and achieve high. "I've applied at every bank, investment company, and accounting firm between Seattle and San Francisco. There's not much out there." "No nibbles?" Mallory asked sympathetically, reaching for the syrup, her engagement ring catching the light. Amy shielded her eyes. "Geez, Mallory, stop waving that thing around. You're going to blind us. Couldn't Ty have found one smaller than a third-world country? Or less sparkly?" Mallory beamed at the rock on her finger, but otherwise ignored Amy's comment, unwilling to be deterred. "Back to the nibbles," she said to Grace. "Nothing to write home about. Just a couple of possible interviews for next week. One in Seattle, one in Portland." Neither job was exactly what Grace wanted, but available jobs at her level in banking had become nearly extinct. So here she was, 2,000 miles from home, drowning beneath the debt load of her education and CPA, because her parents had always been of the build character and pave your own road variety. She was still mad at herself for following that job offer to Seattle, but she'd wanted a good, solid position in the firm. Just not one that she could find in the Kama Sutra. Now late spring had turned to late summer, and she was still in Lucky Harbor, living off temp jobs. She was down to her last couple of $100, and her parents thought she'd taken that job in Seattle counting other people's money for a living. Grace had strived to live up to the standards of being a Brooks, but there was no doubt she fell short. In her heart, she knew she belonged, but her brain, the part of her that got that she was only a Brooks on paper, knew she'd never really pulled it off. "I don't want you to leave Lucky Harbor," Mallory said. "But one of these interviews will work out for you. I know it." Grace didn't necessarily want to leave Lucky Harbor either. She'd found the small, quirky town to be more welcoming than anywhere else she'd ever been. But staying wasn't really an option. She was never going to build her big career here. "I hope so." She stabbed another pancake from the tray and dropped it on her plate. "I hate fibbing to my parents so they won't worry. And I'm whittling away at my meager savings. Plus, being in limbo sucks." "Yeah, none of those things are your real problem," Amy said. "No?" Grace said. "What's my real problem?" "You're not getting any." Grace sagged at the pathetic truthfulness of this statement, a situation made all the worse by the fact that both Amy and Mallory were getting some. Lots. "Remember the storm?" Mallory asked. "When we almost died in this very place?" "Right," Amy said dryly. "From overdosing on chocolate cake, maybe." Mallory ignored this and pointed her fork at Grace. "We made a pinky promise. I said I'd learn to be a little bad for a change. And Amy here was going to live her life instead of letting it live her. And you, Miss Grace? You were going to find more than a new job, remember? You were going to stop chasing your own tail and go after some happy and some fun. It's time, babe." "I am having fun here. At least, more than she'd ever let herself have before. And what it's time for right now is work." With a longing look at the last stack of pancakes, Grace stood up and brushed the crumbs off her sundress. "What's today's job?" Amy asked. When Grace had first realized she needed to get a temporary